thinking back to 7-8 years ago when you did start up Jackrabbit Learning Experience, what were the hardest realities that you weren't prepared for that you had to figure out how to be able to do?
Yeah. I mean, the hardest things for me personally are the things that feel like red tape. There's just like a massive psychological weight to me of, I kind of named some of the things. What is business insurance and how do I get it? Or when I had to set up payroll or when I had to hire a bookkeeper, I didn't even know what a bookkeeper was. How is a bookkeeper different than an accountant? I had no idea. I had to figure that out. And then I had to figure out how to hire one of each. And then I had to figure out how they work together. I didn't know any of these things. And some of these things that I'm not passionate about are just much, much harder to do. And I think the kind of emotional tax of really wanting to design and do something and make something and be creative, and then hitting up against the sorting through insurance policies and choosing the right one is really hard. I mean, I think that that's a real thing. Or if you're a person who is a little bit more introverted, a little bit shy about sales or getting out there to do marketing, that might be the challenge. But I think everybody's going to have something, right? Nobody's going to be good at all the things. It's too many skill sets. There are reasons why individual people do all these roles. But when you're starting, you're doing all the roles. And so I think those are the kinds of things that you don't know how you're going to react when you go into it that are major considerations, right? That you might not be prepared for. Another thing that I would mention that's really more in the work is that when somebody's hired you to do something for them, you are on the hook in a really different kind of way than when you're an employee. If something goes wrong, it's your fault. It doesn't matter if it was somebody else's fault. It's your fault. Or if it was partially somebody else's fault. You're going to be on the hook. You're going to be accountable. You're going to be responsible. You're going to need to fix it. You're going to need to understand what happened. You're going to need to own it. And that's different than being an employee, right? All the politics that all of us hate about working in a large organization, you don't have to deal with those. That's the benefit. The other side of that coin is because of that organization's politics, it's easier for them to blame you if something doesn't go right. And so there are a lot of ways to mitigate those things, but I think that's an important thing to be prepared for. It's a very different dynamic.
So on the flip side of that, what were the positives of starting off on your own?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the things that people think about it typically as the positives were the positives. Having more control over my time, having a lot more freedom in what I chose to do, having full creative control as a designer. One of the things that I had frustrations with in past jobs is, I would be like leading the design function, and I would have tension with the head of, user experience design or the head of project management. We just didn't see eye to eye on how things needed to progress. And one of the things that was just nice about doing my own thing is I could do it any way I wanted. And there was nobody to push back on me. And so as long as it worked, that was fine. So those are great. The other thing that I didn't anticipate is that the creative control over what the business is, what you do, how the business operates, how it's constructed. I used to think that businesses were all fundamentally the same, and that's wrong. All businesses are really fundamentally different. Even if they do really similar things, the way they operate, the decisions they make, there is really no perfect playbook for whatever anybody wants to do. You have to go and make it up. You have to invent it. That's really cool. If you're a creative person, you like building something. To me, the most creative thing I've ever done is business building. It's incredibly fun. So that, to me, is one of the greatest positives.
When you can start and actually build your own culture from scratch, that's got to be awesome.
It's great.
Here's what it's going to be like. And it's
exactly. Culture, processes, identity.
You don't want to establish some crazy hierarchy like higher ed. It's super fun.